How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Mem Zayin, Daf 47 of Masechta BavaKama. Friends, yo friends. Today we are studying Daf 47 of BavaKama. It talks about stuff. We're going to start on Daf Mem Zayin Amud Aleph, about 6 or 7 lines into the page. Ve'omar Rava says, Rava, in shaman the pari b'fnei atzma v'la volod b'fnei atzmo. Ho ho. So this is talking about a scenario that we mentioned yesterday. We have an ox that kills a cow, and then there's a dead baby cow next to the dead mother cow. And we don't know if the baby was born prior to the cow being gored, in which case the owner of the ox would be potter, or if the baby cow was killed on account of the goring, in which case the owner of the ox would be liable. I hope I didn't there's a lot of moving pieces here. Oxes, cows, baby cows. Okay, I hope I didn't mess anything up over there. So now, so we said that in that case, what we do is we pay chatzi nezek from the cow and revia nezek from the baby cow. But Rava says, Rava, in shaman the pari b'fnei atzma v'lavolod b'fnei atzmo. We don't evaluate the cow on its own and the baby cow on its own. Ela shaman levolod al gav behema. Rather, we evaluate the value of a pregnant cow, how much its value was when it was alive, and how much its value is now that it's dead. And that is and then the difference, from that difference, is basically how you would calculate the payments. But we don't calculate the payments separately for the cow and for the baby cow. Because if you don't say this, i.e. if you say that we should evaluate their values separately, it's not nice to the owner of the ox, it's not nice to the damager that he's going to have to pay too much money, right? Let's go weiter. And we find a similar ruling when it comes to somebody who cuts off his eved's hand, right? If the hand of somebody's eved gets cut off, so when we evaluate that hand, we don't evaluate the hand separately and say to a person, how much would it take for you to agree to get your hand cut off? No, that would be a lot of money. Rather, what we do is we take the value of the eved with a hand, and then how much is an eved worth without a hand, and that is how we calculate the difference. And the same thing also by if you damage like a row of your friend's field, we don't evaluate that row on its own. We evaluate how much the field, a field with a certain amount is, how much is a field with a certain amount, and how much is that same field minus that row, and I guess it comes out to less money. But asks Rav Acha Brei the Rav Ashi, why are we so concerned about the damager? It's going to cost the damager too much money. We have Rachmanis on him. Why do we have Rachmanis on him? If he owes the money, he owes the money. What do you want me to tell you? V'i dinu lichish, right? Mazik mishum de Omar lei. Well, because the Mazik retorts and he responds, Para ma'abarto azikosoch, para ma'abarto shaimonaloch. Well, the owner of the ox retorts and he says, "Look, right? You're claiming that my ox killed your cow that was pregnant, so my ox basically gored a pregnant cow. So let me pay you the value of a pregnant cow, not a cow and a baby cow. My ox did not gore an ox and a baby cow. My ox did not gore a cow and a baby cow. My ox gored a pregnant cow. So that is what we should be evaluating," argues the damager. Pshita pare dechad uvalod dechad. So now it's obvious that in a scenario where the one person owns the cow and another person owns the valod, the baby cow, right? For example, you have somebody with a pregnant cow and he sells the cow minus the baby, though the baby he's going to keep. So when the cow and the baby cow belong to two separate people, So it's obvious pitma leval par that any weight that the cow gained while it was pregnant, any additional fat which has value, so that belongs to the owner of the cow, not the owner of the baby. Nifcho mai. But what about, when the cow is pregnant, it expands, it becomes bigger. So the value of it becoming bigger, and so in the article we pointed out like maybe there's more hide, so therefore there could be value for like tanning. The fact that the cow becomes bigger during the pregnancy, so who gets that biggerness? So Rav Papa Omer says Rav Papa leval par, that the owner of the cow gets the beginning, and beginning is like beginning, the beginment, the bigification. So Rav Achabre Dervika Amar Cholkin, whereas Rav Achabre Dervika says that they divide the, what do they call it? The beginment, the bigification, the bigging. Vilchsa Cholkin. The halacha is like Rav Achabre Dervika, that they would split it. Okay, so the cow like gets bigger when it's pregnant, so that bigness was a machlokes between Rav Papa, who says that it goes to the owner of the cow. Rav Achaber Dervika says that the owner of the cow and the owner of the baby cow would split that value. Vilchsa Cholkin, the halacha is that they split that value. Says the Mishnah, Hakader shehichnis k'derosiv l'chotzer bal abayis shelo b'shus. So a potter who brings his pots into the courtyard of the balabayis, okay, he brings his pots into somebody else's courtyard, shelo b'shus, and he has no permission to do so. V'shibarton bento shabalabayis, and the animal of the balabayis breaks the potter's pots. Oy va'avoy, potter. So the balachotzer is going to be, the balabais is going to be potter, because the potter had no permission to bring his things there. And if the animals of the balabais got injured by this potter's pots, balakader is chayiv, so the potter is going to be chayiv, because he had no business bringing his pots into there, and therefore if his pots get damaged, nobody's going to pay him. And if the animals of the balabais get damaged from his pots, well, he's going to be responsible to pay the balabais. But if he brought in his pots with permission, balachotzer chayev, well then, if the animals of the balachotzer break these pots, the balachotzer is going to be chayev, because the potter had permission to bring in his pots. Hichnis peirosiv l'chotzer balabais. If a person brought in his fruits to the chotzer balabais, shelo b'rshus, with no permission, v'achalton be'emto shabalabais, and the animal of the balabais says, "Oh, look, fruits, my favorite," and a poshit eats the fruits. Potter, the balabais is going to be potter, because because fruit man had no permission bringing his fruits in there. Huzka boin balaperis chayiv. And if the animal got damaged by the fruits, the question is, how exactly did the animal get damaged by the fruits? The Gemara is going to talk about that. But balaperis chayiv, so fruit man is going to be chayiv. Ve'im hichnis b'rshus, but if fruit man had permission to bring in his fruits, so balachotzer chayiv, so then the balachotzer is going to be chayiv if they get damaged. All right, if the animal eats it. So then the balachotzer is going to be chayiv to pay the fruit man for his fruits if fruit man had permission to bring his fruits in. I've been getting super tired recently while I'm recording. I don't know why. It's like totally not late. It's like 4:45 in the afternoon or something. Like it's like really, that's not so late. And maybe it's because it's like getting dark out, so like it feels late. But I've been like getting like legitimately tired when I'm recording these things. I don't know, maybe BavaKama, as much as I like BavaKama, it is a little dry. I don't know, maybe I'm just like getting a little bit dried out. I don't know. I've been getting kind of tired. Okay, so if a guy's got an ox and he brings the ox into the chotzer of a balabais, shelo b'rshus, without permission, v'nogcho shorish a balabais, and the balabais' ox gores this bringer-inner's ox who had no permission. Ocean Neshachu Kalbo Shel Baal Bayis, or the hunt of the Baal Bayis bit this ox. Potter, so the Baal Bayis is potter. Nogach hu Shor Shabal Habayis. Now, if his ox gored the ox of a Baal Bayis, of the Baal Bayis chayv, so the owner of the ox is going to be chayv. Nofel leboro, if his ox fell into the to a pit that was in the chotzer of the Baal Bayis, vehivish meimav, and now the water became all disgusting. Chayav, so the owner of the ox is chayav. And if the Baal Chotzer's father or son was in the pit and they got killed, Mishalim Sakofer, so the owner of the ox is going to be chayav to pay kofer. V'michnis b'shus, now if he had permission to bring his ox in, Baal Chotzer chayav, so the Baal Chotzer is going to be chayav. Rabbi Yomer says, Rabbi Bechulon, in Uchayav Shekabel Olav Lishmer, says Rabbi that in all the scenarios a person can only be responsible to guard and protect and take care of the possessions in his custodianship if he explicitly accepted responsibility, right? If he accepted upon himself to guard these things, so then beseder. But if not, then he doesn't by default accept them. All right. Time of the Shalo Bishus. So now says the Gemara. Oh, Givaldim. So says the Gemara that the reason why if the potter brings in his pots without permission, and the owner of the chotzer's ox and the owner of the time of the shlo b'shus or b'shus, okay, fine. So we had said if the owner of the pots brings his pots into the chotzer of the Baal Bayis, and then the animal of the Baal Bayis gets injured on his pots, so the pot man is going to be chayiv, because he's going to be chayiv, right? So should we call him? I'm trying to think if we should call him pothead. Pothead. Does that work? Pothead. Pothead. Potman. Pothead. Potman. I think potman works. So potman brings in his pots. Potboy. Ooh, potboy. That's better. Potboy. That's much better. Potboy. Yeah, I think that's better. Pot guy. Pot dude. Potman. Potboy. Potto. Potboy. Yeah, potboy works. Alright. It works. Potboy brings his pots into the chotzer of the Baal Bayis, and he had no permission to do so. And then the Baal Bayis, Baal Bayis isn't a good name. What should we call him? What should we call the Baal Bayis? Baal Bayis boy. That works. Potboy and Baal Bayis boy. That works. So Potboy brings his pots into the chotzer of Baal Bayis boy, and he doesn't have permission to do that. Now, Baal Bayis boys, Baal Bayis boy, that's a great name. Baal Bayis boys. Wow. That's something's going to happen with that name. That's good. Baal Bayis boys, animal gets damaged on Potboy's pots. So we say Potboy is going to be chayiv to pay for those damages because he didn't have permission to be going into Baal Bayis boy's chotzer. Okay, so again, starting from the beginning. Time of the shlo b'rshus. The reason why Potboy is going to be chayiv to pay for Baal Bayis boy's his animal's damages is because Potboy had no permission to be bringing his pots into the chotzer. But if he had permission, lo michayev bal kideris benizke behemto de bal chotzer. But if he had permission, Potboy would not be responsible for the damages to Baal Bayis boy's animals. Velo amrinon kabuli kabil bal kederis nitirusa de behemto de bal chotzer. And we do not say that when potboy brought his pots into Balabay's boy's chotzer, we do not say that potboy, and he has permission to do so, we do not say that potboy by default has accepted responsibility to ensure that Balabay's boy's animals will not get hurt. Potboy has not accepted that upon himself to make sure that no damages happen in Balabay's boy's chotzer. Money, who's that? Rebbe. It's Rebbe. The Amar Kol B'Stomeh, Lo Kabel Alin Tirusa. Right, Rebbe had said at the end of the Mishnah, that I'm going to read from the Mishnah, B'chulan einu chayiv ad shikabel alav lishmor. He's only chayiv if he accepted upon himself to guard, to watch. Now, potboy, he says thank you very much to Balabay's boy who's giving him permission to bring his pots into his chotzer. He says thank you very much, but he doesn't accept upon himself to make sure that no damages happen with his pots. So that's like Rebbe, who says that you have to explicitly accept custodianship. But then if we go weiter in the Mishnah, it says, now if potboy has permission to bring in his pots, Bal Chotzer Chayiv, if anything happens to his pots, the Bal Chotzer is going to be Chayiv. Ason Lirabonon, Bal Chotzer Chayiv. Meaning, if the Bal Chotzer, if Balabay's boy gave him permission to bring his pots, that means that by default, when he grants permission, he also says, and I will take care to make sure that nothing happens to your pots. So that's a son of the Rabbanon. That's like the rabbis, the Amir Bistama Nami Kabuli Kabil Ale Nitirusa. That's like the rabbis who say that by default, acquiescing also means that you will make sure nothing bad happens. Which is like what the rabbis say. Right? You hear the kasha? Meaning on the one hand we're saying that when potboy brings his pots in with permission, he does not by default accept custodianship, and yet we're saying that when Balabay's boy grants permission to potboy to bring in his pots, he's by default also saying, and I will guard them to make sure nothing happens. So the ratio is like Rebbe. The Seifa seems to be like the Chachamim. Visu, but then the Mishnah concludes, Rebbe Omer b'chulin enuchayv et shikabel olav Balabayis lishmor. That in all the scenarios, he's only chayiv if he explicitly accepts upon himself responsibility to be a custodian. And that's Rebbe's opinion. So Reisha v'Seifa Rebbe Mitzyoso Rabbanon. So what's going on? So the Reisha and the Seifa are Rebbe, but the middle is the rabbis. Like, why is it so sporadic like that? So Abzir says, look, the first part of the Reisha and the second part of the Reisha contradict each other, right? Because we just said the first part of the Reisha is like Rebbe, the second part of the Reisha is like the Rabbanon. So it must be that whoever taught that those are two separate Tanoim, that the one who taught the first part of the Mishnah, right, which is like Rebbe, assumed that the Chacham hold like Rebbe. The second part, which is like the Rabbanon, right, said that no, that they disagree with Rebbe. So it's taka two different Tanoim there in the Reisha. Rav Omer says, Rav Kula Rabbanon, the whole Reisha is the rabbis. Uvershus Shmiras Kideris Kibel Olav Bal Chotzer Vafilu Nishbar Beruach. But the difference is that, look, in the first part, when potboy brings in his pots, he says thank you very much to Balabay's boy, but he doesn't say, and I'll also make sure that none of your animals get hurt by my vessel. See, when potboy receives permission to bring in his pots, he doesn't also accept responsibility to guard Balabay's boy's animals. But fakir, it is true that Balabay's boy, when he says to potboy, you could bring your pots into my chotzer, he's saying, bring your pots into my chotzer and they'll be safe. Don't worry about them. I'll take care of them. Don't worry. So that is why. So you could say that the whole Reisha is the Chachamim, and it's just, it's different when when Balabay's boy who owns the Chatzar is giving permission to somebody to bring his pots into his Chatzar. He's saying, bring them in and I'll take care of them. But when somebody receives permission to bring in his pots or whatever it is, he says thank you very much, but he doesn't also accept upon himself to make sure that he's going to guard all the contents of the Balabay's boy's Chatzar. That he doesn't accept, but you could say it's all the Chachamim in the Reisha. Alright, I'm finding Balabay's boy to be a little bit of a mouthful, so maybe I'll kind of cut back on that. Alright, the Mishnah said, what is that? Oh. The Mishnah had said, Ichnis Peirosav l'Chatzar Balabayis v'chulei, that if a fellow brings his fruits into the Chatzar of the Balabayis, so Amar Rav Loshonu Elashe Huchli Koboin, right? So we said that if a fruit boy, if fruit boy brings his fruits into a chatzar, and we said that if the animal of the balabayis gets injured by fruit boy's fruits, so then he's going to be chayiv. He's going to be chayiv, right? Fruit boy, because fruit boy didn't have any permission to bring in his fruits. So now that's only if the animal slipped on the fruits and got hurt that way. But ochal aval ochla potter. But if the animal ate the fruits or ate fruit boy's fruits and got a tummy ache and died, so then fruit boy is going to be potter even though he had no permission. My time outcome avala shalotocha, because the animal shouldn't have eaten those fruits. It's his fault. Rav Sheshes says Rav Sheshes, Amina Kinaim v'shochiv Rav Amar lo shmaitis says Rav Sheshes. I don't know. I think that Rav was sleeping when he said that. It makes no sense. The Tana, because after all we learn in the Brayso, I know since Sama Movis l'fnei be'emos chaveru, that if a person puts a death potion in front of his friend's animal, potter midinei odom v'chay b'dinei shamayim, so he's going to be potter from Dini Adam, Chai b'Dini Shemaim, but Betzim is going to be potter, right? We can't do anything to him. He's going to be potter in this world. Okay, in the heavens will be Chai, but we live in the earth, right? So potter Betzim. So Sama Moves hu delo avida de'achla. So the reason why he's potter for putting a death potion in front of his friend's animals, because animals don't usually eat death potions. But aval peiris davida de'achla. But if you put fruits in front of the animal, something that the animal would normally eat, and then the animal ate it and got a tummy ache and died, so he would be chayiv. But according to Rav, why should it be chayiv? The animal shouldn't have eaten it. So says the Gemara, no, that's the wrong diuk. He would even be potter if he put fruits in front of the animal and the animal got a tummy ache and died. The chiddush over here is that afilu sama moves nami to lavida the ochla chayiv b'dinei shamayim. The chiddush over here with the death potion is that even though animals don't normally eat death potions, and this animal did and died, still the guy, so he's going to be potter b'dinei odom, but he's going to be still chayiv b'dinei shamayim. Nonetheless, even though animals don't normally eat death potions, since he was irresponsible, he's going to be chayiv b'dinei shamayim. By same alternatively, samamovis nami be'afrazto dahainu pere. That you could say no, but even the samamovis, you can also say that wait, it wasn't. We're assuming that the samamovis, the animal knew that this was risky business, but maybe that's not the case. Maybe it was some kind of a grass or something that the animal eats, but the animal doesn't actually realize that it's going to die from it. So therefore, it's just like regular fruits. And we're saying that he's potter, so therefore it would also be potter when it comes to regular fruits. Okay, so it's not a kasha on Rav. Meisvei, here we have a kasha. Isha shenichnaso litchon chitim eitzo balabayis shelo b'shus. If a woman goes to grind wheat and she goes into the chutz of a balabayis, she has no permit, or to wherever the grinder is of the balabais, and she has no permission to be there. Ve'achalton behemto shebalabais potter, and the animal of the balabais eats her wheat, so the balabais is potter, because she had no business being there. V'mhuzka, and if the animal gets injured, chayeves, she's going to be chayeves. Ve'amai, why should she be chayeves? Neima havla shlotocha, meaning the assumption is that the animal is eating her wheat and gets a tummy ache and dies. And we're saying that she's chayeves, but why don't we say, like Rav, shlotocha, that the animals of the Baal Abai should not have eaten them? Amrei umi adifa mimasnisin. To which the Gemara says, what kind of question is that? Why should this brisa be any different than our Mishnah? Just like we answered our Mishnah that it's talking about that if the animal got damaged because it slipped on it, so same thing would apply here as well. Then our Mishnah says we're talking about not that he ate and got a tummy ache, but that it slipped, and the same thing would apply here. But the karila, my karila, and the one who asked the kasha from this brisa, why did he ask that kasha from this brisa? I mean, what, did they not know that you can answer the brisa in the same way that it's talking about where the animal slipped? So Omar Loch, well, the one who asked the question would say to you, Bishlam masnisin katani emuzka bohen. Look, the language in our Mishnah is emuzka bohen, that if the animal it got damaged from them, which you can argue means slipped on them or something, shuhuchlika bohen, it tripped, it slipped. Who? Aval hachabravir katani emhuzka, that if it got damaged in that, it doesn't say bohen. It sounds like maybe if it got damaged by eating, we're still saying that she would be chayeves. Lo katani bohen, achila hu de katani, and therefore it must be talking about eating and getting a tummy ache and dying. And we're saying that she's chayeves. Ve'idach omar loch lo shna, whereas the one who says that they're both talking about where it slipped is talking. So he says, look, there's no difference. You could say the same thing for both the Brisa and the Mishnah. Tashmaka, if a fellow brought his ox into the chotzer of a balabais shelo birshus without any permission, v'achal chitin. So a person brings his ox into the chotzer of the balabais without permission, and the ox eats wheat, v'hitris, and the ox gets shilshul, diarrhea, v'ames, and it dies, potter. So the balabais is potter. V'michin is birshus. But if he had permission to bring his ox in, balachotzer chayiv, the balachotzer then is chayiv. Amai, why should it be chayiv? Avalei shelo yochal. But the ox shouldn't have eaten. So amarova birshus, ashalo birshus karomis, birshus shmiras shoro kibel olav, vafilu chonekas atzmo. To which Rava says, this is apples and oranges. In this case, where the ox got shilshul, he had permission to be in the chotzer. So when the balabai says you could bring your ox into the chotzer, he's saying bring your ox into the chotzer and don't worry, it'll be protected. I'll take care of it. But that's different than when a person brings his ox with permission into a chotzer. He's not accepting upon himself to guard anything, and that's why it would be potter. If the balabais' chotzer eats and gets a tummy ache and dies. Ibadu, they asked the kasha, when, so let's say according to Rebbe, let's say explicitly accepts, right? So the balachotzer says, sure, you could bring in your ox, let's say your ox, or fruits, whatever it is, into my chotzer, and I'll take care of it. Or according to the rabbis, by default, he would be a shomer. But when he's taking care of the fruits or the ox, whatever, is he saying that I'm going to make sure that none of my animals cause any trouble? So if you bring in fruits, none of my animals are going to eat it? Or perhaps, or maybe what the balabais is saying, you could bring in your fruits, none of my animals will eat your fruits, and also I'm going to make sure that no other animals are going to come in and eat your fruits. I'm going to take complete responsibility. Tashma, come in here. The Tani of Yehuda bar Simon bin Nizakin de Vekaina. The Yehuda bar Simon taught regarding this is super interesting. By the prices of, I guess, the Beis Medrash of Karna had their own collection of prices, and Rav Yehuda Bar Simon was teaching them. Hichnis Peirosov l'chotzer balabayis shelo b'rishus, that if a fruit boy brings his fruits into the chotzer balabayis without permission, uvashor mimakom acher v'achalon, and then a random ox comes and eats them, potter. He's potter. The question is who's potter, but he's potter. Now, a fruit boy had permission to bring his fruits in, chayev, so then he's chayev. Man potter, man chayev. So when we say chayev, who's potter, who's chayev? La potter balabayis v'chayev. What? La potter bal chotzer v'chayev bal chotzer. Are we not talking about the bal chotzer being chayev or potter? Meaning, sounds like what we're saying, right? No, the scenario is, fruit boy brings his fruits into the chotzer of bal bayis, some other ox comes and eats fruit boy's fruits. So we're saying if fruit boy had permission to be there, so it sounds like we're saying that the bal chotzer is going to be chayev. If he didn't have permission, then it'll be potter. But it sounds like if the bal chotzer gave permission to fruit boy to bring in his fruits, he's accepting upon himself to keep safe the fruits not only from his own animals, but even from external animals. So Amri Lo, they say nisht, potter balashor v'chay balashor. No, the owner of the ox who ate the fruits. So we're saying if fruit boy had permission to be in that chotzer, to have it bring his fruits into the chotzer, so then the owner of the ox who ate them, not the bal chotzer, but the owner of the ox who ate them would be chayiv. If fruit boy did not have permission to have his fruits there, the owner of the ox would be potter. V'i balashor, my birshus umay shelo birshus ika. Now, if we're talking about the owner of the ox having to pay, being chayiv or not, so why does it matter if fruit boy had permission or not? What difference should it make to the owner of this separate ox who ate these fruits, whether or not fruit boy had permission or not? Amri, they say, well, the difference is bershus. If fruit boy had permission, avile shein bershus anizak. If he had permission to bring his fruits in there, well then when that other ox comes and eats those fruits, it's like he's eating the fruits out of the chotzer of the nizak, of the person who got damaged. Meaning, since fruit boy had permission to bring his fruits there, it's like the damages were happening in his own chotzer, and therefore he's chayev, right? B'shein b'shus anizak chayeves, and shein b'shus anizak is chayeves. Therefore, the owner of the ox is chayev. Shelo b'shus, but if fruit boy did not have permission, well then havila shein b'shus arabim, which treated like as though the ox came and ate fruits that were, in the public domain, because after all, fruit boy didn't have permission to have his fruits there, and it's just like considered a random spot as far as we're concerned, and therefore v'shem b'shus harabim p'tura, and the owner of the ox would be potter when his ox eats fruit boy's fruits when he doesn't have permission to be there, since shein b'shus harabim is p'tura, and that's what we were going to be considering. There's Tashma coming here. Hichnis sharu l'chotzer balabayis. If what should we call this guy? Ox boy. If ox boy brought his ox into the chotzer of the balabayis, shelo b'rishos, without permission, uvashor mimakom acher, and a random ox then comes v'nogcho and gores ox boy's ox. Potter. So the owner of the random ox is going to be potter. V'michnis b'rishos. Now, if ox boy had permission to bring in his ox, chayiv, well then the owner of the goring ox will be chayiv. Man potter uman chayiv. Who's potter? Who's chayiv? La potter bal chotzer chayiv bal chotzer. We're not talking about the bal chotzer. That meaning that if ox boy had permission to bring in his ox to the chotzer, and then his ox gets gored by a random ox, are we not saying that since ox boy had permission, the bal chotzer, the owner of the chotzer, would be chayiv? So we see then that the owner of the chotzer, when he accepts upon himself to guard the ox, is not just from his own oxen, but from other oxen too. Lo, potter balashor v'chay balashor. No, we're saying that the owner of the goring ox is going to be potter if ox boy did not have permission to be in there, and is going to be chayiv if ox boy did have permission to be in there. If that's the case, my b'rishus, my shelo b'rishus, what's the difference if ox boy had permission to be there or not? Ika, what difference is there? Amri, they say, Hamani Reb Tarfini, well, the difference is according to Reb Tarfin. The Reb Tarfin says that there's a difference in terms of the payments of a short time, whether it's b'shus harabim or b'shus hanizak. If it's b'shus harabim, it's chatzi nezek. If it's b'shus hanizak, nezek shalim. So therefore, what we're saying is b'shus, if ox boy had permission to have his ox there, havi like karen b'chatzor nizak, will that now be considered like karen b'chatzor nizak, which is u'mishalim nezek shalim, which would be nezek shalim according to Reb Tarfon. So chayiv meaning chayiv nezek shalim. Shelo b'shus, but if ox boy did not have permission to be there, well then, havi like karen b'shus harabim, it would be like karen b'shus harabim, v'lo mishalma el chatzi nezek, which would only be chatzi nezek. Friends, that was daf mem zayin of Masechta BavaKama. We spent a lot of the daf talking about scenarios when somebody's allowed to bring his stuff into somebody's chutzner or not allowed, and that when somebody gives permission or even potentially has permission to be in a certain place, do they also accept upon themselves to guard and make sure nothing gets damaged or not? And when they do accept, are they accepting it only for their own stuff or for other stuff? It seems like we were unable to prove that it's for other stuff. So, alright, well that was Daf Mem Zayin of Masechta BavaKama. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.